Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And joining us on this week's episode is Megan.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
And as you probably know from either our posts on our BGG Guild or just from the fact that Megan's on the show and the times Megan comes on the show are the times we talk about time stories. We're doing a time stories episode this week. So, yeah, we'll dive right into that. This week, we're going to be ruining Time Stories Expedition Endurance. And since this is a ruins episode, it's going to be full spoilers. So if you care about spoilers for Expedition Endurance,
Which I would recommend you caring.
yes,
Yeah.
then turn this off now and come back to it once you've had a chance to play it. But with that out of the way, let's jump into this thing. Expedition Endurance is a 2017 release from designer Croc. Artist is Bernard Bittler and published by Asmodee as part of its Time Stories line. It plays 2 to 4 players and takes 60 to 90 minutes. As is the case on these ones, we don't really do a rules explanation. We assume, especially by now, if you're listening to the Time Stories ones, you understand a little bit about how Time Stories is played.
The rules explanation is you play Time Stories.
Yes.
That's a load of crock.
You were just dying to use that, weren't you?
Yes.
You're also sticking wax in my beer tab, and I don't appreciate that.
I think it's fine.
I'm all for it.
Anyway, when we do these ruins ones, we like to take a brief second and talk about kind of how we're feeling about Time Stories at the end of the last module. So the last module we all sat down to record about, I think, Zach, you said it released back in January.
Yeah.
So it's been a few months, but it was
Under the Mask.
Under the Mask, which was the Egyptian-themed one. And so...
Egyptian detectives.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, Megan, we'll start with you since you're the guest. We'll throw you right back under the bus. How are you feeling about Time Stories at the end of that one?
I think the end of the third one, the fantasy one, kind of bled over into me not being as gung-ho about the Egyptian one. So I think that we just had a couple really long plays of Time Stories the last couple games that we did before this one. So I wasn't quite as excited going into this one as I have been as like the first or second one that I did. But I think this one definitely kind of flipped that around for me, that I'm kind of excited again about Time Stories.
Whoa, spoilers. I'm just messing with you. Jeff, how about you? How are you feeling about Time Stories going into this one?
I was thinking that they were getting pretty long, and it was a lot of trial and error in there to get like the right path going. So I was wondering if that's just how they were going to be for the rest of them, because Dragons and Under the Mask kind of did the same thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, then we played this one.
Right on. Zach,
no spoilers
for you.
Well, I know Prophecy of Dragons was still was my least favorite, and so I was still coming off more positive just because it wasn't Prophecy of Dragons. I seem to remember liking parts of it and things like that, but I definitely sort of agree with Jeff. It took us like 4.5 hours or something around there.
4 or 5 runs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It was near the end. It was getting a lot of like, all right, there was no more thematic parts of it. It was, we're just doing the mechanisms. They're like, all right, we're going to go here, get this, go here, get this, go here, get this, right?
Yeah.
And only at the very end where you're like, oh, finally new things. So a little, I wouldn't say a little worried, but I was interested in the theme of this one, Antarctica. I heard some spooky stuff was going down. So I was looking forward to it, but I was like, I'm hoping, in the back of my mind, I'm hoping this isn't another 4 or 5 hour trek.
Slog.
Yeah, slog, yeah.
I just kind of echoing all three of you, same thing as you, Zach. I definitely felt that Under the Mask was an upswing coming from the Prophecy of Dragons, but still wasn't that great. And it was one of those where it was just, playing the game rapidly started to feel like work. Like, it was really interesting, like the first run, maybe the second run when you were seeing new things.
It's like the first half was always great.
Yeah.
And then the second half was just, like you said, work, getting to the end. And as it became longer, that felt longer each time.
Exactly. So I was starting to get worried about whether or not this would be something that we'd want to really keep doing.
Right.
I don't want to say that Expedition Endurance was a make or break module for me, but it kind of probably was. But so we were all still willing to play. We sat down. We played Friday, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Correct. Yeah.
just a few days ago, and we dove right in. The setup didn't really do anything particularly different. The biggest thing that they changed in the setup for this module is now you have, in addition to health tokens, you have a couple tokens per character for sanity. And so you just immediately know kind of out of the gate that sanity is going to play into it. You're going to see some creepy fucking shit. And then in that little initial prologue by the one guy who hates us, clearly. Bob. I couldn't remember his name. I don't know why I couldn't remember his name was Bob.
Gotcha. That's your boss guy in Time Stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Supervisor.
yeah.
And
But-
it did have 2 decks of cards to start with. One deck you started with, and then the other that said, do not open until told
Instructed.
to do so.
Yeah. And it wasn't like a deck 1 and deck 2. It was like, because I've seen that in some of them where it's like, you stack them together. This was,
Smoosh.
yeah, you smooshed them. You had your one deck, and then you had that one was just don't open until whenever.
Yeah. And in that setup, Bob is telling you like, oh, things are kind of broken, so we have to use a different system to send you back, and we're going to send you back, and we're going to see how it works.
Yeah, we got a really old time robot or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start your first run, and it starts kind of in the middle of shit. Like
Yeah, I'd say right in the middle of it.
right at the end of it.
After the end of it?
After the end of it.
After
The
it
aftermath
all
of everything?
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're walking through. So you're on a ship, part of an expedition in like 1914.
Yes.
1913.
14.
I remember they mentioned 1913.
Well,
as,
on
like, war
the
broke
thing is 1914
Okay.
NT or whatever it is.
I guess I was thinking the newspaper that we found
Yes.
said 1913
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
Newspapers take place in the past.
That's true.
So, yeah.
So
A whole year previous.
I know people like using newspapers to identify what the current date is, but it's not always that, Jeff.
How many times did that guy read that one newspaper that he didn't just finally fucking throw it out?
I don't know.
Yeah, in Antarctica, you don't have a lot to do,
That's
so
true.
you're like, it's my only reading.
Well, I think it was the newspaper that announced, like
The
the
war.
kickoffs of World War One. So,
Yeah.
maybe he was planning on like, this is a historical event.
I need to take this with me to Antarctica.
Yep.
But
You keep it safe and just throw it into the water.
Yes.
It'll keep it nice and frozen.
Preserved forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're on the ship for this expedition, and at the start of the first run, everything is just fucking trashed. There's a charred body like in the boiler that's no longer functioning.
Everything's ice and
There's
frozen over.
ice blocks blocking major passageways.
Ladies are hanging from the ceiling,
Yep.
green goos. in
Predator
the
blood is
kennel.
everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, bloodstains and clear signs of
Yeah.
struggles and things like that.
Wormy fish.
Well, I because when we first got there, it's we found that the boiler was off, like you're saying, and it was like, hey,
You have 12 turns.
you have 12 turns to figure out this, or you're gonna die, right?
Yeah.
And so we're like, oh, well, this is
And you do unlock like a new map section. You
Yes.
go up to the captain's cabin and
in the lounge. Yeah.
So there is some discovery.
There's some discovery, but you're a very, like, it starts off at 30, and then it's immediately like, JK, it's not 30. You actually only have 12 to deal with this.
Yep.
And you're like,
Mhm.
oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And so we were
And
scrambling.
this all takes place on October 26th.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're kind of one of the main characters, the character I played through the whole thing, even on multiple runs, was the mechanic guy.
Yeah.
And like it even mentions like, oh, he works on the boilers. And so we were like, okay, well, what do we need to do to fix the boiler? Like, let's start looking for boiler parts.
Yep.
And then you're debating about like, well, which is more likely to have the boiler, the lounge or the captain's quarters?
Well, it's like, well, we're going to need heat. Maybe we should go to the kitchen, see if we can't do anything there. But it was everywhere we went. Everything was frozen over and bad and dead people
Yep.
around. So, which I want to say one thing too is that this is new for us. This one introduced an animal that you could be for
Yes.
a receptacle. You could be the alpha male, basically.
alpha male husky.
Yes.
Yes, the lead
Fenrir.
sled dog.
Yeah.
Yes, Fenrir.
Yes. Which there are a couple spots where you're like, hey, I go talk to those
Talk to those dogs.
sort of thing.
We're in the kennels. The
Yeah.
dog could go talk to the dogs and speak dog.
Yeah, and then see a half mauled body.
Yeah.
But it was like you can't read with them, which we weren't sure how to interpret at first, other than we're like, oh, you probably just means you can't read like books or newspapers or any of
Yeah.
that stuff. Not you can't read any of the cards.
Location cards.
Yeah, exactly. And also like you can't go insane, which is nice. As
you're a dog.
Yeah, you're just oblivious to everything that's going on. You're just like, that's a giant eye in the water. Meh. That's okay.
That can't hurt me.
No.
It's just an eye.
Rotting green fleshmen.
Yep.
Fine.
And you could hold one item, but you couldn't use it. So you couldn't like give the dog a shotgun and be like, all right, have at it, dog.
Should give him a knife.
Yeah.
Use the knife in his mouth.
Yeah.
But so we rush around looking for, any way to stay warm,
Yep.
and we don't find it.
Nope.
So we freeze to death and
Yeah.
we die.
We get to like two-thirds of the locations. We still had like two that we didn't check out, and then we died, and we're like, shit, this is gonna be it. I will say this, at that when it already ended like that, I was like, oh god, this seems like you have to do a bunch of stuff super specific super quickly,
Yeah.
and so I was a little bit like, oh god, I hope it's not that.
Yeah, here we go. It's going to take 4 more runs of 12 turns
Exactly.
per run.
Yeah.
But ends up not being the case.
Yeah.
You flip the card, the failure card, and it's like you go back and Bob's not even upset. He's like, dude, yeah, we threw you in way too late.
Yeah.
We got the robots, the main things up and working again. So here, let's get you in with some time to actually work with.
In the correct time when before things happen.
So then you go into October 24th.
Yes.
Yeah. And you start same thing in that same
Same boiler room.
boiler room. Only this time the boiler is roaring with the body in it.
Yeah, there's still body in there, but
Yeah.
So it's definitely things have begun to kick off.
yeah. Well, and the first thing you do in there is someone has to go to the boiler, and it's, hey, you need to fix this boiler, or else you're going to start taking damage each turn.
Yeah, or every 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not
Good.
good.
No.
So
No.
Although in this particular one, it wouldn't have been the worst.
it wouldn't have been the worst, but also, I definitely think not having to worry about that.
Would be beneficial.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
I think it was definitely more beneficial.
Yes.
But compared to some of the other
Oh yeah.
ones we've done, getting the damage, I don't think was quite as big of a
Yeah,
deal.
there
as this
wasn't a lot of combat in this one.
Mm.
No. In the call it the prequel run now. What did you have to make a sanity roll for pulling that body out? I didn't go to deal with the body in the frozen part.
No, you just had to
I
make.
think so.
You just had to take a madness test. There was
Yeah.
no.
That's what he meant by that.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that was really the first time that we had experience with the sanity checks. And then
Yes.
they started happening a lot more in the main run.
Mhm.
But yeah, dealing with that body is the first time, and you roll dice and you have a brain trait. It's like your willpower. And you just have to, whatever the sanity check is, or insanity check rather, it'll tell you of 2, and you roll your willpower, and you just need to get 2 successes, or however many it indicates. Which people started to slowly go crazy.
Yeah.
Because
Unsurprisingly.
even rolling 2
Well-
dice and even having some of the die facings be 2 successes, there was a lot of failing of
Well, they're
rolls.
the dice aren't geared towards success.
No. It's like
No.
what? 1 blank, 1 star, or sorry, 2 blanks.
I think it's 1 blank. No, 2 blanks, 1. Well, anyway, it's like a 50% chance of even getting a star.
Yeah.
And then I think it's like 2 1-stars, a 2-star, and then 3 of nothing, and then like one of the skulls.
Yeah.
So, or maybe even 2 skulls. I don't know. Or maybe 2 skulls. It's not great.
No.
Yeah.
It's basically a 5+.
Yes, pretty much. a standard Eldritch or Arkham Horror check.
Yep.
For success.
Indeed.
But immediately, as we start exploring the ship from there, everything's not as wrecked. It's still a little wrecked,
Mhm.
but not as wrecked.
Yeah. People are alive.
Yep.
Except that dude in the boiler.
Well,
Except for the
yeah,
dude in
but
the boiler.
he was
still
always
dead.
dead.
Well, he was freshly dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
really kind of made you feel like
Andy was like
one of
stabbed.
us might have killed him.
Andy was stabbed in the back too.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we ever really figure out what happened with that?
I don't think so. I don't
No?
think we ever solved who killed him.
We didn't need to.
Yeah.
But we took his journal,
We did.
and that's where our first clue of like, oh, some real messed up Cthulhu-y shit is happening here now.
Yeah. Which the journal was another like cool mechanic that they kind of did in it where you read it and you have to make a sanity check for reading like the crazy shit that's in it. And then it's like, if you would like to, you can continue to decipher this, place a marker 5 times down the track. And when your time marker gets to that, then take this next item card. And you take that one and you read it, and it's like, increasingly gibberish.
Yep.
But it's like, you do another sanity check, and then it's same thing. Like, do you want to keep reading? And then I think it was the third card was like, you read the whole card, and then at the bottom it's like, if you read this card out loud, everyone makes a sanity check.
Yeah.
And then you can keep reading on that one, and then the last card you draw there ends up being like, congratulations, you've deciphered this. You now have a spell to call a
Byakhee.
Byakhee to aid you. And it's like, oh, yep, there it is. We're in Lovecraft now.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and you know what? I forgot to mention too. In the first run, when we saw just the shotgun on the with the red blood everywhere, there was like a green thing on the side, and so we went to investigate it, and we had to take a sanity check for that.
Oh yeah.
But then it was like, all right, one of the agents grab item 2, and so I was just like, if only one of us is, I'm making my executive decision of grabbing it before Jeff has a chance to. And then I looked at it, and it's something that actually comes up a lot later in this too, is that it's like, hey, nobody else can see this card. It's only your card. And it's like you have because you have like an intense infatuation with green and slimy substances now, right? And it's just like you get to keep it with you for multiple runs and even later adventures. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I remember grabbing that and I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that. Because I know when we were handing everything back to reset the deck, it was like, here's all the items, and then I'm going to keep this card right next to me by myself. None else can see it. So like the secrecy things that it started adding to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which come up later.
Yes.
Indeed. It even, like, when we reset after the first real run, it mentioned that, like, some cards don't go back, even cards that only one person may have seen.
Exactly.
So, who all went crazy the first run?
Oh, I definitely went very crazy.
I know I did because I was deciphering the book.
I think it was just you two.
Okay.
Which was really unfortunate because the guy I was for the first 2 runs was the guy who was really good at willpower,
Mm-hmm.
and I had crap rolls the whole time. So like even though I had like rolling 3 dice and usually only had to get 1, I was getting nothing forever. Like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go super crazy.
What was the insanity trait that you ended up with?
I ended up with agoraphobia. So anytime that I was in a space with someone else, I had to roll less dice. And then once I was in a space with everyone else that wasn't required for the mission, like required by the board, like
Right.
the boiler room, then I had to flip the card upside down because I was going crazier. And every time that happened in each location, I would lose a health.
Ugh.
So I was going real crazy.
Okay. I don't remember what mine was called, but mine basically became that I could no longer willingly go to a location that was locked. And if I ever found myself at a locked location, then I had to flip the card to the more insane side. And that was, you go catatonic and can take no actions for as long as you're in this locked position.
Oops.
Which didn't end up being a problem. Like, there weren't that many locked locations until towards the end of it. All of a sudden, I found myself at a locked location.
Yeah.
And it died.
Real quick.
Yep.
Wasn't our first death in a long time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
We had
was,
to look up what happens when you die.
Yeah.
well, we had to look up what happened. Well, I didn't. We had to look up what happens when you die for you in the second run.
Yours was very special.
For mine, we had
But
to look up.
We're also, that's that's like way down the line of
Yeah. So we'll
where
talk
we
about
are.
yours a little bit later.
Yeah.
But like mine, we had to look up like what happens if you're at a locked position, which is usually a combat. And if you do nothing, but your armor is higher than the damage, it's like, oh, if you don't do anything at all, you still always take at least 1 damage.
Yeah.
And so I took a damage, and then because of things we'll talk about later, that ended up killing me. And we'll talk about what happened there a little bit later.
You just
But-
can't turtle.
No
No.
turtling. But so at this point, we kind of gotten through the boiler room. We'd moved up. We were starting to explore the ship. We were finding that some of the rooms, things were the same from the previous run. Like
Yeah.
in the kitchen, there was a box that in both runs held a hatchet and a knife, so you could get some weapons. And there were a lot of weapons. For how little fighting there was
Yeah.
was a lot of weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Although the fighting that there was, some of them were like very strong. And then 2 of the fights we did have insta-killed both you and Jeff.
I mean, I guess
So-
that's fairly true.
But a lot of the spaces were the same, but it was basically, hey, here's the kitchen. It looks like it did before, except now there's a person there, and like on the the front of the card, it's like, oh, it looks like a normal person, and then you go,
Yeah.
then you go there, and he's like, his like skin's falling off, and he's babbling, and you're like,
Ew.
oh yeah,
You're real gross, dude.
yeah.
I regret walking up to you.
Yeah, and then it was, it's like, hey, he's like, hey, you should come over this corner, and we're like,
No.
no.
You have green
you wanna-
pustules.
You want to eat some fish?
Yeah, and then he just started spewing green liquid out of his mouth, and then ran away, and we were just like, oh, Jesus Christ, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then like you see, we saw a woman who had like a shotgun, and we're like, hey, how's it going? And then it's like, you have to comfort her or she's gonna kill herself. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh god.
Yeah.
So it's like we got there right when everybody was just going
Done.
Full crazy.
full peak crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I did like that, like the lady, we ended up comforting her, and
Yeah.
then she joined us and gave us a cool ability, which hers was like you could just look at any card, even ones you weren't supposed to look at, before you decided where to go to in a new location.
Yeah.
And then the captain was another one that you find the captain, and he's another one like you can make some checks to try and add him to your team and get him to join you, which I thought was kind of cool. Having NPCs again, like that had been a little bit of a thing, I think, back in Marcy Case.
Yeah.
But hadn't really come up much.
Well, in this one, like they were just one-off things that they could do to help. They didn't have like any health or do anything, because I feel like some of those you actually had to care about people. This one was like just a one-off card you can use, but it wasn't like actually them going with you or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, like they made it sound like they were with you, at least like the captain for sure. 'Cause,
Well, the
like, when you
captain's-
used his ability, it was
Uh-huh.
like after he uses this ability, he goes and crawls in a corner and just
Oh,
sobs to death.
I thought it was
Yeah.
after we got the card he did that.
No.
Oh, okay,
No,
makes
that
more
was a
sense.
It's
wait-
after he helps you, then
Oh,
he
okay.
goes and cries.
Then I retract my
and
statement,
sobs.
because I thought it was you read it that you got that ability, but then he went and just cried in a corner.
Everyone's forgetting about the pack of dogs. You can also
Yes,
just-
Oh,
that's
yeah,
also true.
Yeah, because
If you have Fenrir there, you can get some dogs, and they can just help.
Yep.
And it's either like they can help you re-roll, or they just give you successes. And when comforting the captain, it was like you had to get like 7 observation, which
Yeah.
was everybody had like 2 at the most, but a
1
lot,
to 2.
yeah, 1 to 2. And at the end of that, like second round of rolling, it was like we were at 6 successes, and I was like, "Well, I'm going to send 2 dogs at him to go comfort him," and then it worked.
Because who wouldn't be comforted by 2 dogs?
Exactly.
by
a bunch of
huskies.
sled dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, sled dogs are very intelligent and loving dogs. From I don't know.
No.
Yeah. Well, I know
No.
Fenrir was a
No, they're
Malamute. Yeah.
super willful, and unless they know
Working
you,
dogs,
they're just
yeah.
like, ew.
Well, they would know the captain
Why would they know the captain?
because they've been on the same boat as him for presumably months at a time.
I'm
doesn't
pretty
mean that
yeah.
he has anything at all to do with them.
I mean, if I was a captain and there
What
were
the captain
dogs
could
on
be
my
allergic
boat-
to
He-
dogs. You
I
don't
was gonna
know.
Say he could be allergic to dogs.
Yeah.
Maybe he was bitten in the face by dogs.
Yeah.
As a child, he recovered,
And then
became
got
a
bitten.
captain, so he didn't have to deal with dogs anymore. And
He's
now
like,
he's on
"I'm
a
in the
boat
water."
with dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, except we know that in our universe of this game, it was 2 dogs going over that brought him back from the brink and comforted him. So clearly he was happy about
He
it.
was so disgusted by the two dogs that it snapped him out of a stupor.
I think he's
And to be
just
fair,
a
that was
little
only
crazy.
the one time.
Yeah.
Still
The
a
other
little
time-
crazy.
Yeah.
In the real timeline that we ended up with, that
That's
didn't
true.
happen.
That's
so-
true.
Fair,
The successful one.
Yes.
fair enough. But you keep moving through the ship. You can rescue some people. You get some weapons
Yep.
and things. Eventually,
Fix an airplane.
so eventually you make your way up onto the deck of the ship, and once you get up there, like of the 3 locations, like one's to the left of the like port and starboard, and then like center, and the port and starboard ones like you can see out across the snow and ice, like to a snowdrift and like a
Snow flow.
an
ice flow. Yeah.
And if you go to the airplane, there's a guy working on it. And he's like, hey, will you help me? And you can help him. And he's like, all right, you can use my plane to go if you want to. And if you say yes, you fly away. And as you get up in the air, the mountain looms out of the distance. Your plane stops working. You crash and you die.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Oh,
Because why would you?
No, yeah, well, we're here to discover shit. Why would we be like, you know what?
Let's get out of here. Okay, let's get out of here and fail the mission. You want to go do that?
aerial views of the surrounding area.
Which is what I said.
Yes. No, immediately you're just like, hey, we could just take the plane. And they're like, no. that
Adrian
seems-
wanted to take the
Yeah,
plane.
I
yeah.
did want to take
And that's what I mean. And we're like, no,
No.
that seems like a bad idea.
Yeah.
I was still just trying to play in character for not the guy controlling the vessel, but the vessel himself. And it was the scaredy mechanic who was like, dude, we got to get out of here.
But you weren't him. You
I
were
know, I know.
you were going too deep, man.
I
You
know.
had to keep.
He was that scared that the vessel was overriding the driver.
Well, then the two people that weren't as scared were like, no. Stop it.
Yeah. So we didn't do it. But I did do it. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll take the plane. Because I thought maybe like one person could take the plane and I would see what happened.
And then
Instead,
you
it was
just
like,
die and you're gone.
Yeah. Instead, it was like you all board the plane, fly, crash, and everybody dies, and you start over. And I was like, oh, yeah, I think this one needs to be one where there's actually like we all need to agree to use it, and it was just
No.
unanimous against me.
Yeah.
All 3 of you were like,
Yep.
no, we're good.
So there was like an area to the northeast and an area to the southwest. We didn't even bother with the northeast section at all. We just went straight southwest,
Correct.
which ended up being the right choice.
Correct.
It led us off into like some ice fishing hole and then like a weird mountain and like some snow drifts.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's when we first saw with ice fishing. If you approach the hole, there's like a giant eye with Cthulhu-esque monsters in there. But like you try to approach, and then you have to take sanity tests and stuff like that. And so it was like, but I do love that the dog can be like, look, that's an eye. All right, moving on.
Bye.
And we had found some clues. Like the captain had banned like fishing because like there was weird shadows underneath the ice. And they had clearly been fishing, and there was fish in the kitchen. And then there was like another boat that had fish in it. And I was just like, we should do nothing with any of these fish.
I took the fish both times, though.
Yes.
Yes.
Taking the fish was not a problem.
No.
Nope.
Eating the fish.
Yeah, it was never eat it if it would have given you the
Oh.
option.
Mm-mm.
Which I don't think it ever does give you the
No,
option to eat the
but-
fish.
We would have
don't.
slapped it out of your hand.
Yeah.
Because even when you find the fish over by the fishing hole, it's like, there are 4 fish that look to be caught recently, but for some reason you feel that you're not at all hungry and don't want to eat them.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's the correct response.
Yes.
So on our first of the main runs, at this point, Jeff, you and Megan went to one area, and Zach, you and we went to another area.
Mhm.
And both areas ended up going to the same place.
Yeah. Well, so that
Weirdly.
was just beyond the fishing hole area.
Yeah.
It was a mountain.
Yes.
Like we
found-
see a mountain that looks
Crazy.
crazy, weird.
Maybe full of madness.
No.
A mountain
No,
of madness.
no.
I have not heard that
No.
before.
I think it was a.
I don't like alliteration, so that's not going to work.
I was gonna say cliff of crazy, but that's on a cliff.
Crags of crazy.
Crags? No.
Crazy crags.
Anyway, I
Anyway.
wish I knew more words for mountain.
Crikey. It's crazy cracks.
You said crikey.
So
Yeah.
at some point, you guys had found a green key thing.
Yeah, I think it was in the captain's thing or something like that.
Yeah, in the bottom of his like dresser. I picked the lock because my mechanic guy was real bad at fixing furnaces, apparently, but real good at picking locks.
Yes.
But yeah, I found this weird key. And so Zach and I went to a spot where it was like, hey, if you have this key.
Because it was like you had to do like 11 book like intelligence rolls, or if you have the key, you can just be like, click, here's the key. Well, like it didn't look like it was anything you could like put into a lock.
Yeah.
And you just sort of like rub it on the wall and
Smoosh it in there.
Fits in like a little carving, like
Yeah.
a square peg into a square hole. And then what happened with you guys? Because that like teleported us to a place and was like, if you came here from this in the new location, put this card here.
Yeah. So ours, it was enter the correct combination, and it was 4 different cards that was like the crags of craziness if from like a distance, but it had a bunch of lights on there.
Mhm.
But then the location also had like green lights on it, but they didn't like
They
really
didn't-
correlate at
yeah.
all. It was just sort of like, there's sort of one in the top left and one in the bottom left and one in the middle-y. And a bunch of these had just kind of like a mountain-looking thing with various red and green dots. And we just sort of kind of lined up the green dots where they were on the location, and we went to the item, and it was like, you got it.
Yeah,
And
which was great because I feel like we never get anything on the first try. And it's like, this one I think works.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got it. I was like,
Yep. So
sweet.
we clearly came up with the correct solution.
Nice.
Yeah, and so it ended up taking us to the same, like both things went to the same new location. And at this point, it was like, you don't have a choice. Just go to this next fucking location.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So we go inside the Crazy Crags.
Uh-huh.
yeah. And we immediately get, it's like 3 new locations and then a locked location. And the first one is 2 different cards. It's like, if you came here through the key, put this card out.
With
if
some-
you
with
didn't,
some
put
gray
this other one.
squares.
Yep.
Yeah. And so we put that out, and
You and I went to the gray squares.
yeah, because I was like, well, shit, it's something special that we only get if we use the key. Like, clearly that must be a good thing.
And I was like, I don't know about that.
Like, let's go to the other
Yeah, let's
one.
go to the other one. They can handle that. The dog and other person, we can go hang out on the bridge.
Yes.
And
Which was the correct answer.
It was 100% the correct answer.
Not
Yeah.
the best answer overall that we'll find later,
Yeah.
but
That's true.
But yeah, because apparently if you use the key
You
to
will-
enter,
You activate the mountain.
yeah,
yeah, you turn the mountain on, and it starts spewing out crazy beasts.
bug creature flying things
Yeah,
that
like-
you have to fight and are locked in combat with on this bridge. And if you ever take damage, you fall and die.
You fall out the bridge and die. Yep.
And because I was in a locked location, my paranoia kicked in. I became catatonic and did nothing, which meant I took a guaranteed damage, and I fell and died.
I had a double barrel shotgun.
How'd that go for you?
I unloaded both barrels.
Did they hit anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was a lot more that didn't. And
And then you took a damage.
yes, and then I died.
And so at this point, like I don't remember where we actually unlocked it, but you get this location 666 that they tell you to put up in like Codex B.
That's because we activated it.
So, okay, so
Yes.
the
Because
key
you
also
used the
turns
key.
that on.
Yes.
Because you use the key and turn it on, we got that stack.
Okay.
Yes.
If
And-
you don't use the key and turn it on, you don't activate the mountains, so those creatures don't ever spew out, so you don't ever get the 666
Correct.
stack.
Okay. Well, the thing with that deck is it says on it the first person the first time a character dies, you
Yeah.
know, they
It's not like each.
take this deck.
It's like the first time a vessel died. It was worded weirdly.
yeah.
We
So I couldn't tell if it was the first time each of us die, like my first time dying, Jeff's first time dying,
or the first time a person dies on a run.
Yeah, and so that's how we ended up playing it.
Yeah.
So I was the first one to die, so I took the deck, and the first card is just put a time marker a little bit further down the track from the current time, and then when the current time reaches that marker, it's like flip the next card, and you flip it. It's like if you were insane, you are now torn apart by the vortex
Mhm.
and you die. And somehow like you're able to. I think it mentions like you're able to pull out and will be ready for the next run. Amazing. Like you're lucky there's no lasting damage or something.
Yeah.
And then, but if you're not insane, then you draw one of the next 3 cards randomly and go through its effects. But it also says on that very first card you get, do not ever show any of the cards to anyone. Do not look at them after the game. Do not ever go through them. Like, it says that if you do, then you discard one of the like bonuses per card looked at from that deck.
We have a lot of bonuses.
We do.
Now we
We never use them. I wish you'd have told me that. I totally would have been like, all right, let's see what that shit was.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
rumor is that they're cards that clue into the rest of the white box series.
yeah, like the greater overarching story with the what are the creatures that are like the bad time bandits?
Oh, what was our stupid name that we came up with?
I don't remember at all.
Because it's a really weird word that we could never figure out quite how to pronounce. And so we
Yeah.
just kind of made something up for it.
Zach will look it up.
But yeah,
where did we encounter it? What was it? Was it in Prophecy
fuck if
or?
I
it was
know.
Prophecy was the first time.
Okay.
Was it? I thought we encountered them in
Marcy?
the Marcy case.
Yeah.
I
don't
thought
know.
that's when we started to encounter them.
Yeah, because they had like kidnapped her, and that's who we were
Mhm.
rescuing her from.
I thought we were just rescuing her from a government officials
No.
responsible for the zombie thing.
No. They were hiding her from us, so we couldn't rescue her because she was going to be important in the future.
Oh.
That was the whole point of us rescuing. We didn't give a shit about the zombie apocalypse. They just let us die at the end.
I mean, you're not wrong there. No, I mainly remember
Oh yeah, the Syaans.
The Scions.
The
Saiyans?
Saiyans.
Yes.
The Saiyans. Yes, that's what it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there was something on my card, the one where like, oh, you're already insane, you just get ripped apart, that mentioned the Saiyans, but didn't really give anything that seemed noteworthy to the overarching story. But I don't know what was in those other 3 cards because we didn't actually look at those. We were
No.
good and didn't.
I mean, I'm definitely going to when we leave. Now that I can just throw 3 of those things away that we never use.
So Adrian and Jeff both died in their locked bridge. And then Zach and I made it across the safe bridge that was really tough to get across.
Yeah.
And then like
Then
as we
ran out.
were exploring the next location, we ran out of time.
Yeah.
So we
Then
restarted.
had to do round 3.
Yep.
One thing we didn't really talk about at all, we mentioned the Husky, but we didn't really mention the characters that we can choose at all.
No, I mentioned I was the mechanic who apparently couldn't fix the furnace, but was real good at lockpicking. But yeah,
I just wanted to mention how like underwhelming they all were.
Or
Yeah. They didn't have
some
any,
of them were
Yeah.
better, a lot better than others. Like that lockpick one was nice.
yeah, because there were a couple places you could pick a lock, and he just got a shit ton of die to pick
Yeah.
locks with.
But like the other ones were just like if you're doing an intelligence test, if you get like a 2, it counts as a 3.
Yep. Or the willpower guy was the same one.
Yeah.
Or the like sort of strong guy was like, hey, one time you can roll
Add
extra dice.
3 more die to your roll.
Yeah. Which isn't, I mean, it's for fighting stuff, that'd be good, but like you said,
Once
there-
per run.
Exactly.
Once per run.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first guy I had was like, I don't remember what he was, but he was the willpower guy. He was like Scottish guy. And I rolled terrible with him, so I gave him up. And the second guy I did was like the handyman. He was like dude everything man who was French. Apparently it's really hard to be French on a boat with a bunch of non-French people.
Oh yeah, it talks about them like everybody would constantly like grab the pom pom on top of his beret, and it really offended him.
But there were a couple of locations, like in some of the previous ones, if you have this character,
Yeah.
like you can get through this a lot quicker.
I just barely remember anything about the characters at all.
Yeah, it was.
Strong guy, dog guy.
Well, I feel
French
like
guy.
a lot of the other ones were like there's like 4 instances where it helps to have this one person.
Yeah.
Here was like one,
One.
maybe
Maybe.
2.
Yeah.
So for the most part, like I never felt, oh man, I'm really bummed we didn't have this one person.
No.
So
No, the seeing in the prequel run that the dogs, you could do something with the dog, I know kind of made you want to be the dog on that
that's
first
true.
real run.
Yeah. And then I did it and I was like, okay, well I got dogs. And now I have dogs.
That was fun.
and then on the next run, we're like, yeah,
No dog.
Except at the very end, like confrontation, you can send a dog to go comfort somebody, and then you don't have to fight him.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the second real run, our third overall run, was for the most part more of the same. Like everything on the ship was the same.
And it came down to, it was like, hey, do we want to, we explored like one or two more spots like that we didn't last time.
Yeah, I think there was like maybe 2 that we just real quick dropped in because we were like, all right, well, there's other like 3 locations we know we don't even need to deal with.
Yeah.
We did still go get weapons. We were like, let's go to the kitchen and get the knife and the butcher thing. Like as we're going into this mountain of craziness, there's these crazy caverns. Like we want some weapons.
Yeah.
We ended up still getting the
book and
the diary for you to get the Byakhee.
And I was a willpower guy, so I was like, I want to see what it does to something because we got it, but we never summoned it, and
Correct.
So I was like, all right,
Let's go all the way with this one.
let's go. Yeah,
Which you went insane still reading the book as well, didn't
I
you?
did
as
when
the
it's saying
willpower
yes,
guy?
but I think it was the same one that you had, Adrian.
Oh,
But then
okay.
the guy I had could get whiskey and then make himself not insane, or force the whiskey on top of somebody else, and then they would be no longer insane.
Yeah.
Which we got the whiskey,
Yeah.
and Jeff was already insane.
Yeah, but
and
I was
Zach was like, "No, I'm gonna hold on to this.
To be
We're
fair,
not
it's-
gonna help Jeff."
because I was like, I'm reading the book. I'm gonna go insane. I know this, so I'm gonna just use it on myself when it happens. And it didn't seem like Jeff's was affecting us that much.
Yeah, what
No.
was
What
your
was your
insanity?
insanity?
So mine was special. Mine was black, which none of the other
Oh.
ones were. Like I was under direct control or something from the crazy things.
Oh.
But it didn't really do anything until it got worse. If it got worse, I would not be able to take any more like observation or intelligence tests.
Oh.
Gotcha.
Weird.
Like period.
Okay.
How did it get worse?
If I ever had to take a madness test, I would put a token in front of me, and if the tokens equaled my willpower, I would just get worse.
Okay.
That seems to be the worst one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
It was-
wasn't that
yeah.
bad.
Okay.
Yeah, because we only ran into one other madness test after that happened.
Yeah, they're fairly easy to avoid. The painting that I told you guys not to go to, it's a Madness 5
Wow.
test.
Oh.
Like, it's basically impossible.
Why?
It's just
It's a picture of the
it's
mountain,
a picture
right?
of the Mountain of Madness, and yeah,
Oh.
as you stare at the painting, it seems to come alive and pulls you into its eldritch depths. And you
Okay.
temporarily lose your grip on reality, make a ridiculously high roll. It was like, oh god. Luckily, at that point, I was already insane, so I was just like,
yeah.
neat.
Yeah.
And then on the second
All
run, I was
right.
like, guys, don't go look at that fucking painting.
Yeah.
Do not go to that painting. You will not survive.
So we just went
So-
back the
Yeah.
same route. We didn't go to the lady
we didn't,
this time
We didn't go to the lady. We didn't get the key. We still got the captain.
Yep.
Yeah.
because we had
Um,
the way in anyways.
Yeah.
with the
Well,
combination.
yeah. With the combination, we're like, that key made all that crazy shit happen, so let's just not use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just avoid that.
So we get back to the bridge, and we still ended up going the way you guys had went initially, where you have like the crazy check to get across the bridge. We went back later after we finished, and we looked at what the new location one is without the key, and it's like, walk across the bridge, you get to the end.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're like, God damn it.
Yeah. Safe path. Nothing.
Oh.
No problems here.
It's that fucking guy with the top hat all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get to the next room, and there's like, dude trying to summon Cthulhu.
Yeah.
And so in the center, there's the guy summoning it, and based on what other cards are available, like they're like, do you have this symbol? Then this shows up. Do you have this symbol? Then this shows up. Do you have this symbol? No? Okay, this shows up, kind of
Yeah.
a thing. And the guy gets just a pile of health on him.
Yep.
It was 14 plus 2 skulls.
Yeah. And on the left of the room, there was like when you're reading the little, description of the room, you're like, there's this thing of green and sticky goo. And I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, well, that's where I'm going.
On the other far side, real quick, before we talk
yeah.
about your goo
Yeah.
story, there's another card that's like clearly on the card art Cthulhu kind of
Yeah.
looking thing behind some ice. And you read it, and it's basically and it says like, read this before anybody goes to their location and flips their card. And it's like, there's a giant beast fighting to be free from this ice. Every turn, add a token here, and then when there were 6 tokens, then the beast awakens and you all die.
Yep.
End the run.
And there was one character that could go there and
My dude.
Yeah,
My
and-
strong dude.
and
Remove tokens.
remove a token, so then it wouldn't get any better, but it would not get any worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would
he would
just
hold it back with
refreeze
his-
it.
Yeah.
with his
How do you
eldritch strength.
Yes.
How do you stop ice from breaking?
I don't know. How do you keep Cthulhu in with just ice?
Magic ice.
Yeah,
Magic
magic
ice.
Magic ice.
So you put your magic hands onto the ice.
Yes.
It's so slippery he can't. grab
Exactly.
it.
Yeah, he's all tentacles. They can't grab ice. So
So we it ended up being the professor's assistant, and then the dog musher
yes.
Yeah.
that were kind of like the
Super crazy people.
super crazy
crazies.
people, with the professor's assistant being the like arch nemesis of this.
Who's like doing the main spell
Yeah.
thing. The professor was just crazy. I don't think there was any, because you went to fight the professor, Megan.
So I identified the professor, and the professor is the one that was eating all the fish and getting all these like pustules on him and green glowing and bile and stuff. So if I had the fish, I could just like, he would have attacked me and taken the fish and all would have been good. But I didn't have the fish.
Yeah, I had the fish, and I went to the other guy, who was the dog musher, and that one was like, if the dog's here, it comforts him, and he leaves.
Yep.
Otherwise, fight. So basically, I went to the wrong spot, and we didn't have the right character for the spot I did go to.
Yeah.
Zach, you fled over to the green goo.
I did, and it was just like, oh, this is so rancid and smell like people start to gag. But then if you had that fascination that I do
with the green goo.
with the green goo, it was like you muster, you get a second wind, and you decide to put your hands in it, and then it starts glowing, and then you get like +2 strength and +2 shield for the end of the you get like superpowers basically.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, I'm powerful. But then I also was like, hey, I also have this Byaki. Let's summon that thing too.
Yeah.
And then I summoned it, and it replaced me in fighting, and it was worse off for fighting than I was.
Stupid Biakis.
Yeah. So I was ultimately very disappointed in that. Just in a sense of like, oh, I wanted to punch him with my fists. With my green fists.
Your like new Hulk hands.
Exactly, yes. Gamma to the face.
Yes. I fought
You went directly to the center.
Yes, and then I started stacking up all of his health, and everyone's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I was just like, "It's got 14 health." Yeah. And if you killed the like dog guy, it would take 4 away. I don't think the professor took anything.
No, he
No, he
did.
did.
He
Did he?
took away
Okay.
4 away also.
So
So it rapidly got manageable as we
Yeah.
killed the ancillary
and
characters.
I did my like once per run strength thing, and I rolled super well. I rolled like 8.
8 at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah,
On
it was
one-
nice.
You got rid of over 1 stack of those.
Yes, just in one hit.
Yeah, you're like 1 stack in 1, please.
Yeah, I went Cape Horn or something on
yeah,
them.
You were passing Cape Horn.
Yes.
Cat passing Cape Cod.
Yes, passing Cape Cod.
And there's a
Oh, that
reason
was a
that's
great
called
joke.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of the things from like the character bio. It mentions that this guy, like, he's normally really quiet and like laid back, but when you get him riled up, he goes like into a crazy rage, and everybody on the ship called it rounding Cape Horn. and as I had to explain, because then later on somebody was trying to remember that, and
That was not somebody, me.
and Zach goes, I don't know, like Cape Cod or something.
It was Cape something.
I just started laughing
Yeah.
so hard, and I was like, yeah, because the reason it's called that is Cape Horn's the Horn of Africa. And as you get down there, you get into like the Roaring 30s, which is the bottom 30th latitude, where the wind can just circle the globe with no land and whip up huge storms. So like it makes sense. This guy gets like raging mad, like the water down past the Cape Horn. It's like as opposed to Cape Cod, which is like a lovely place in Connecticut.
And I just want to say it's South America, not Africa.
Cape
So,
Horn?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because Africa's Cape of Good Hope.
Yeah.
But still,
Oh,
same
yeah.
difference.
Dumbass.
Oh,
the
roaring,
like,
the roaring
really?
30s are still real bad down.
Like
No,
just
South
off
Africa is by the 30th latitude?
It's pretty far down there.
Yeah, but it's not that far.
I know they still get the big storms from the roaring 30s.
Well, anyway, I punched that crazy man assistant in the face.
Yes, you did.
Real hard.
Yep.
And then both of you quickly finished off your guys,
Yes.
taking even more health off of him, and he was almost just instantly gone.
Well, and then I came in and I had my Byaki do the last hit.
yeah,
So
because we needed to at least use it once.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
We went through a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But our second run was very quick. We just sort of like axe, knife, and.
But I think it's for the most part because we got far enough that we're like, we know this is the right path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just going to
Also,
keep doing that.
The path to the northeast was like the snow mounds or whatever.
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you go out there and you're like, the only thing you can really do is investigate the ship and be like, nope, it's stuck in ice. That's going to be there forever. And then you like see a thing out even further in the distance that you can go to. And if you go to that, it's just like, nah, it was just snow. Lose 6 time units and lose like 3 health.
Oh, I'm real glad we didn't go there.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I thought this time around we did better about not trying to go to every location to get every advantage and explore everything.
Yeah.
When we're like, okay, we clearly know where we need to go. It'd be fun to explore that, but we don't need to this time.
Yes,
So I
and
thought we did much better with that this time.
And then we would do that on the next run. We'd be like, okay, well, we know the ones that we need to go to, the ones we don't need to. We've got a little extra time. Let's go check out at least one of the things.
Because we haven't seen them on this
Exactly,
run through,
yeah.
But we didn't save the lady.
No.
We didn't save her, but we did defeat the big bad and restore
Very
balance.
easily.
It was, I think because you got such a good roll,
Yeah.
it made it a lot
Yeah.
easier than it probably ever normally would
And
be.
and we went to the library and gotten the good knife and hatchet. So Megan and I
Yeah.
were both well armed for our fights.
Yeah, so we didn't die or even really get injured because mine gave me an extra defense. So I just stabbed and it was fine.
And my guy had a base 2 defense, and
Yeah.
so I didn't really ever take damage. But yeah. So that was the story of our playthrough. So let's talk a little bit. Like, so what did you guys like? What did you think?
I like the false start.
Yeah, the false start was
that
a
was
really-
really cool.
And I like that it wasn't like, oh, you only get a little bit of time
Exactly.
in the run, and then you go back to that same run, but
Uh-huh.
with more time. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't like, oh, okay, you froze death. Well, here, do this to fix the thing, and then you
Uh-huh.
can keep doing that. It was like, no, it's now an entirely different like chunk of time,
Yeah.
and everything's vaguely different, but there's some similarities.
But we were still able to take stuff that we knew
yeah,
and use that in a future run, which was cool. But I liked it was like you arrived after it,
Yeah.
it happens, and then just you're like, oh fuck, well,
Yeah, you even find that journal twice. One that doesn't have that last entry, one that does.
yeah,
I think it was just burnt to a crisp when we found it
The
first
captain's
time.
journal.
Oh, the captain's journal. I thought you meant the journal with the guy in the furnace.
yeah. The guy in the furnace in the first prequel run is like just charred embers with barely anything.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really clever. I liked the way they had, like I mentioned earlier, the NPCs. Like I
Mhm.
thought they fit in well.
Yeah.
As far as being like kind of just a quick one-time bonus without having a whole lot you needed to really track. Like I feel like Marcy, when you had like some of the Marcies, there was a lot more trying to track.
But that's because it was all
Yeah.
about them.
yes.
So yeah, that was nice.
I personally liked how there was less combat than some of the other ones. Like what I like about Time Stories is more the stories, and the combat's fun. But I feel like some of them have gotten so combat heavy. I'm just like, we have to roll until we beat this guy, and it gets us nothing amazing, and we just
Yeah.
have to like keep going until we beat these people. And so it had combat, which I don't want a game without it. But like it was more of an exploration than like
yeah. Well,
and
it was
figuring out the story than it was about just killing people.
exactly. Yeah, it was
To
definitely
figure things out.
it was definitely about trying to go to a situation. It was like, well, what the fuck happened here? And like finding the interesting little story things.
Yeah.
Of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of the art? Because it's always a different artist
Yes.
doing it, so different style.
Oh.
I know you said that was your favorite map. I think.
Yeah, I really liked the layout for the little 4-card map. It was really simple, kind of like line art,
Uh-huh.
and I thought it really worked well to show the ship captured in the ice flows. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really much to it, but I really liked the simplicity of it. It was about the only piece of art in it that really like super grabbed me.
Gotcha.
Even in Time Stories where like each location you start with the cards all face down and they have like they form like a panel of art,
Mhm.
and then the description cards like on the left you have this, on the right you have this, and they describe what's on the cards. I still for some reason like And I just, in games, don't process art like very much. That's why I'm fine with games that don't have a lot of it. Because when it's there, it just is kind of like a background. And I don't really, like, it's rare that art stands out to me. And so that's kind of how this one was. Like, it definitely didn't stand out as bad, but it didn't, other than the ship map thing, didn't stand out as anything great. I thought it seemed fine.
I know for me, like, especially the two before that, the Prophecy of Dragons and Under the Mask, they were very bright and, like, very colorful and detailed. And it was all, like, you know, hustle and bustle, city life, sort of, like, things like that. So this one, because it felt a lot more low-key, because it was just a ship. Like, it was like, oh, you're in a lounge, and you're like, okay, that looks like a lounge. Like, it wasn't anything fantastical or super. I think it was all very serviceable, but I think just because of the context of it, didn't leave much, I don't know, to be desired, I guess.
I could see that.
I liked it.
Yeah.
All the pieces looked real nice next to each other, as they usually do.
Yeah.
A little more detail than just the bright, colorful thing that Prophecy of Dragons was.
Cool. Well, let's talk about all of our final thoughts here. Megan, we'll start with you. You're the guest. So what do you think about Expedition Endurance in particular? And, like, how do you feel about Time Stories currently?
I really like this one. I thought it was a really interesting story. Which is what I really liked about Time Stories the first time we did it. And I thought the story brought me into the, like, game a lot more this time than some of the previous just scenarios. I would say this is, I don't know if anything's ever going to quite beat Marcy Case and, like, how fun it was the first time we did it, but there's a lot of things.
Do you mean Asylum?
Yeah, I mean Asylum,
Okay.
the first one. Sorry.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
Just the first one was, like, so unique and different. It was fun, but I in some ways I think this would be a really good first or second playthrough because it really introduces you to the game fairly easily. I think there's not a lot of, like, crazies going on.
And you mean, like, the first or second modules, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I feel like it'd be a really good, like, first game if you played Time Stories, just because there's not a lot of crazy mechanics going on that I noticed. It's a fairly simple exploration, but I really liked it. I would say it's probably my top 1 or 2 of all the Time Stories, and it's made me more excited to play some of the other Time Stories coming out. I just kind of like what they did with this one more compared to the last couple we played. Yeah, it was good.
Jeff, what about you?
I liked it. I wish there was a little more to it. It seemed pretty thin in its content compared to the other ones, but it was also refreshing to not have to go through 7 different weird locations to pick up those little bits that you needed to even just go to the end. Where this one, the only thing we really needed was, I don't know, some stabby things, and then let's go.
Yeah.
Because we know where we need to go, and it's close by, and there's not any weird, like, unlocking mechanism that we have to fiddle with for 30 minutes of going to these various locations and getting the right components together. And we played the whole thing in, like, 2 hours.
2.5.
Yeah, two and a half from arriving,
Yeah.
with not counting setup. I think once we set up, it was 2 hours. Definitely the shortest, but also I wanted a little more, and then it was just like, oh, it's just Cthulhu things. And I wasn't super interested in just like, oh, hey, there's Cthulhu things. So it wasn't like a cool hook or anything. There wasn't any weird, like, extra dimensional, like, dungeon maze that you had to go through. It was just like, here's Cthulhu. I don't know, kill the assistant.
I was a little surprised that you got done that quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Zach?
Well, now I'm a little mad that Jeff went before me because it's pretty much just going to mirror everything he just said. That I liked it. I do wish it was longer. I mean, it was nice that it was over in 2 hours, but also I was like, oh, that was it. When we finished, it was like, oh, we fought the guy, and okay, well, I guess we won. I feel like 3 to 3.5 is like a good sweet spot for this because, like, you're definitely saying, the last couple, like, had too much going on, but this one was definitely maybe a bit too streamlined. But I did overall enjoy it. I never felt bogged down with us just trying to figure out how to make the time work or any of that.
Find the right colored fairy.
Exactly.
God, that sucked.
Yeah, or trying to figure out which group of characters we needed to do And
don't bring the right allies
Yeah.
or they're going to fight and then you're just going to lose a fuckload of time.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
we even rolled really badly. We rolled like 3 threes in a row.
I believe so, yeah.
And we still like ended up with enough time.
Yeah. But yeah, overall I thought it was good. It's definitely I want to say number 2 or 3 for me. I definitely agree with Megan. So far I don't think anything is going to beat the first one. But we'll see. I'm looking well, we'll leave that later. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to the next one. I don't remember if it's either the 1980s like Hollywood thriller or the pirate one, but
okay.
either one of those, I'm like, I can get down with that.
Illumin.
Oh, that's after that one. Yes,
Yes.
that one's the
Spanish Inquisition.
Spanish Inquisition. Yeah, it's
Okay.
after that one. That's yes.
How does this one rate compared to the other time stories?
Well, let me tell you.
Well,
Well, here,
let me do my final thoughts.
No,
then
we don't
can
care
do
about
all
yours.
this.
No, no, let it.
Dick. So I don't feel nearly as negative about it. I certainly don't wish it was longer. I felt like a good, appropriate amount of time. I liked the contrast between the like quick little prequel run versus the main run, where you get to see like, oh, your body is hanging in that one room, but here you are alive and we can save you. And so just kind of having that like, oh, I know how you die if we don't help you thing. I like that, and it added an interesting kind of dimension to it. It's Cthulhu, which I don't really care for, but somehow Time Stories has done a weird thing where like the fantasy module, which I should have loved, I didn't. And the Cthulhu module that I probably would have thought I would hate, I actually really liked. For me, it might be my favorite. It might rival Asylum. Asylum was still really good, but Asylum suffered, I think, still from some of that. And I don't know, it's hard to look back and be like, how much of it was the design of Asylum and how much of it was like, it was just our first time where we weren't 5 games in and understood like, you can't do everything all the time. You have to make choices.
Yeah.
But it felt like it had weird areas where like, because I remember at one point we came in like a back way in Asylum, and we're like, oh, there was that whole other path we didn't look at. Let's run all the way back over there. And then it ended up just being the other way into where we already were. So we just ran in a big circle. It was like, well, I just wasted a whole bunch of time. All right, we continue on down the path. And I felt like this one was really hard to accidentally waste a bunch of time without realizing it, which I thought was good. I don't know how I felt about like the random like, hey, this location suggests you can do a thing. Do you do it? Yeah? All right, you lose. I don't know if I like the airplane, like just like.
Well,
I mean,
logically,
you
just don't leave because your mission's not done yet.
I like
right. So that's why I kind of thought like you would like something else would happen. Like I didn't think it would just let
thought.
I didn't think it would let you.
Bad thought.
I didn't think it would just let you leave and then kill you because I figured like
didn't the card say you guys can just take this and go or something similar to that effect?
That's what the person offered is you guys can take my plane and leave. But I thought you'd be like
leave. Yeah, that means leave. Like leave this situation.
But no, because again, you're not the characters. You're people controlling the characters. And so your people wouldn't actually leave. So I thought it was like, this guy who's a character and thinks you're a character, he doesn't realize you're being controlled by a future time agency.
No, I understand that part. I'm fine with him asking, hey, you guys just want to take this plane and leave? And I'm fine with that. But as the person controlling the character, you got to be like, why? We're here to go figure out what's going on here. It would be stupid to just leave.
Right. So I figured like you'd be like, yeah, we'll take your plane, but then not actually use it to leave. Or like something would happen that would keep you from actually leaving. Like the plane wouldn't actually work or something. Like not just like, oh, you said yes, so you try to fly away, you crash and you die.
Yeah. I don't know. I never would have taken that plane.
No.
I don't know. I don't like that.
I
don't
know how much more clear they could be.
Yes.
Because there's literally no other option for me, who's a time-traveling person in this body, to potentially use this plane for literally anything else than other ignoring my mission. I can't use the plane to further my mission. It's just an immediate hard you lose if you get in the plane.
So there was a clue earlier, which was we found that part that the captain had taken
Yeah.
and hidden.
Yeah.
And that made the plane not work.
Yes.
So the plane was going to crash no matter what.
Well, the plane wouldn't have ran without the part.
Well, we didn't have the part. We found the part in the icy part. We did not find the part in the non-icy part.
Right, because it hadn't been taken out yet.
Is that clear that it had not been taken out yet? Because it seems like it sputtered and died and crashed as soon as it took off.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think you were supposed to
Anyway, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
That's the only real part of the thing that I didn't like. Overall, I thought it was a really good one. I loved that it was like 2.5 hours. Like, that's a great time for me for time stories.
Yeah.
Especially because we did it in 3 runs, one of which was a prequel run that was kind of different.
Yeah.
Like, I love the idea of being able to regularly do one in like 2 runs and not have to like, I hate when we get to the part where it's just rote. And it's like, all right, we go to this spot, we do this thing, we go to this spot, we do this thing. Like,
I mean, I would
we
agree
just
with
all
that.
know where it is. We don't care. We're not reading cards. We're just like figuring out, all right, how much time do we take to do all these things? Okay, cool. We've done that. Now we are down to our last 5 time. Do we manage to make it? Like, this one didn't feel as luck dependent. Like, oh, you need to get a couple 1 rolls on your time captain rolls to really have a chance. Like, this one felt like you've got plenty of time to do the mission in 2 runs. Like, you could maybe have done it in the first run. Actually, probably pretty likely.
We were
like, it's probably one
close.
of the most
I
likely
think
to
it's
do it
most
in the
likely
first
could
run.
have actually
Well,
accomplished in the first run.
Second, quote unquote, second run.
The first real run.
Yes.
One thing that I really remember enjoying about the very first one we did was I feel like we played our characters a little bit more. So like the very first one, we're all these insane people in an insane asylum, and I thought we did better about playing the characters, which maybe isn't quite the right thing since we're not actually the insane characters. But in some ways, I think like you have to act fairly insane so you don't stick out in an insane asylum as sane people. And I remember that being a lot of fun. Like,
I mean, I feel like
playing
if
as a
we would have
character
just
a
been
little
like,
bit
hey,
more.
guys, we're time traveling guys. We're trying to figure out this weird thing that happened that deals with shit in the future. And they'd be like, you belong here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really liked it. I look forward to playing more. I'm back on the time stories train if this is the direction things are heading. Well, we have a BGG thread up for this episode. Zach, do you have that ready to go for some listener feedback?
Yeah. All right, we have one response, and this is from Chad. This is probably the scenario I enjoyed most after Asylum. It's been a while since I've played it, but I remember it as one of the easier modules as well. From what I can recall, the theme was cool, very much modeled after The Thing. I mean, more. I would say more just...
I'd say the beginning felt
Yes.
very much like The Thing.
Sure, more like that.
Yeah.
Arctic, things are frozen in. There's packs of dogs.
prologue.
There's random
Yeah.
people that are dead everywhere.
If somebody came over the outpost after the end of the movie, yes, that's how that would be.
The artwork was well done and the pacing spot on. I really, and this is in his spoiler text. I really liked what they did with the first run, where they dropped you in early, quote unquote, by accident, and then in the second dropped you at the time and place you were supposed to be. But you got to see the after effects of the disaster and had to try and remember where you had initially found things. I think the only real complaint I had about the scenario was the auto loss choice you could make. If I recall, it had something to do with flying out of the mission zone like a video game. I'm pretty sure we house ruled ourselves back out of that choice as opposed to restarting the run.
God damn it, I agree with Chad on something.
Yeah.
Gross.
That's had we decided to do that and it was just like you ended the run, would you have house rolled it back to just be like, well, we didn't make that choice, or be like, that's what we did?
I don't know.
I probably would have been in favor of house ruling. Like I said, that really.
If we were all stupid enough to agree to get on that plane,
Uh-huh.
we should have just ended the run.
Yeah.
I probably would have just ended the run.
I would probably
but
agree with
I
that
don't
too.
know.
The only other scenario that might be in contention with this for second place, for me anyways, is the Stella Drive, and that shares a lot of this similar setup and mechanics, although a much more adult theme.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, that wraps up the review for Expedition Endurance. If you are interested in picking up your own copy to play, it is well available for just a little over $20, like $22, $23 from a variety of places online. So should be pretty easy to get your hands on.
I'm sure there's plenty of used copies of Time Stories sitting out there too.
Also probably true. I think that's pretty much anything. Anybody else have anything they wanted to add before we wrap up here? Zach, you'd seem like you were like, oh, I'll talk about that later.
No, I then just talked about it. So
Okay.
it's fine.
Cool.
No, I'm just looking forward to the next one.
Yeah.
So
Don't know what to expect from this one because nobody expects anything about the Spanish Inquisition.
exactly.
I just hope it doesn't go back to rote trekking back.
I
and
feel like
forth.
this one. I feel like I'd seen some people's. It was divisive, but I'm not sure. I might be thinking of Under the Mask. I
Okay.
don't know.
Gotcha.
Something to do with the past.
Cool.
Yes. Great.
I hope that really narrows it down for you.
All of time and space?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can always send us an email.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can find us over on Twitter where I tweet under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
We have our BGG guild with those episode posts, guild number 2731, if you want to go join that and participate over there. Our website, milehighgameguys.com, has links to our Slack channel, our Patreon, and that guild. So links galore, as well as links to the various things we talk about, especially on the Wednesday Banter episodes. We also have Facebook and Instagram, both /MileHighGameGuys. So plenty of ways to get in touch with us. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed this super spoiler episode. And we'll have another Time Stories episode for you, I don't know, 4 months if the current time frame's any indication. Hopefully sooner, because I know we all want to keep playing more Time Stories.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm Husky Jeff.
And thanks for joining us, Megan.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
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 Punchboard Media,
where we all
Bring something
to the table
pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.